Hello, everybody. In this lecture, I'm going to be covering Chapter 1. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to go screen 1 and share. Then I'm going to do my slideshow. And all right, there we go. Chapter 1. The learning objectives for Chapter 1 include the following. Setting up a new company, which we've already covered last week with my getting started video. So we don't need to worry about that too much. I'll talk a little bit about that, but not too much. And then this thing called QBO SatNav, which is just a way to help you see the overall picture. And this is something that the author came up with. Then we'll move to QuickBooks navigation. And that's kind of nice, just to show you how you get around in QuickBooks. Then we'll talk about some tools. For instance, the gear icon, the new icon, and the search icon. All right. And then I'll be concluding our lecture about using help and troubleshooting. Okay. Now, as I said before, QuickBooks Online is accounting in the cloud. So we use a browser to access QuickBooks instead of installing the software. And Google Chrome is the browser that's recommended. Oops. Yeah, now what to expect? This is interesting. Don't be surprised if screens look different than the screen captures in the textbook. QuickBooks is updated on a regular basis and can change overnight. Sometimes the appearance is different, but functionally the same. If it's a major change, the updates will be posted at myquickbooksonline.com. So I'll let you know that I do have an assignment summary in each chapter. And what I want you to do, and I tell you to do this, to go check for the updates and then jot them down in your textbook. So when you get to something in the textbook, you'll know that a change has happened, so it won't freak you out too much. So anyway, that's what I'd like you to do. Now, the book says, stay calm. Yeah, that's right. Don't get too excited. Stay calm. Well, I guess what it is when you're working with cloud-based applications, you may run into some issues, like you may receive a message, page not found. Well, that's okay. Basically, go back and refresh your browser or close the browser and log in again. Okay, now keep in mind that you need an internet connection to access QuickBooks. So if you're having issues with your internet connection or you lose your internet connection, this will impact your ability to use QuickBooks. I just want to quickly tell you the author's strategy of learning QuickBooks. They say explore. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through the chapter with screen captures. Now, the author says, don't worry about making mistakes while we explore. Focus on learning how to navigate and use QBO. Now, I'll take the author's word on that. So if I were you, I would try to make sure that you do it right. Just don't kind of blow it off. Then we practice, and that would include the end of chapter exercises. Now, what we're going to do is in chapter 11, we're going to put it all, chapter 11, we're going to pull it all together for a comprehensive project. See, 1 through 10, chapters 1 through 10 is how to learn QuickBooks. And then chapter 11 is a comprehensive project. And that's going to be your final. We're not going to have a multiple choice final. Your project is going to be your final. I was talking to you about QB updates. It's important that you, before you start working in the chapter, that you consult myquickbooksonline.com for the updates. Now, I provided that link to you in the assignment summary per chapter, so you'll see it there. And I'll remind you to jot down those things that are different from the textbook as to opposed what you're going to see in QuickBooks. Now, we're not going to talk too much about set up the new company because you've already done it, right? So that's really cool. Now, I do want to tell you that we're going to use that same company for chapters 1 through 10. And your company doesn't have a reset. That means if you make a mistake in chapter 2 and you don't fix it, that mistake is going to follow you to chapter 3 and chapter 4. I mean, it's very important to make sure you do everything right. That's I would say even doing the chapter work and especially the end of chapter exercises, because you want to stay on top of it. Now, saying that, your text is designed to minimize carry forward errors. Okay. So the tip of the day is carefully review your work in the chapters and exercises to catch errors before saving in QuickBooks Online. Okay. Now, on page 19, they offer you this QBO SatNav type of system. And all this is, it's a way to see the big picture, the entire thing. So, if you look at QuickBooks, you could be overwhelmed by the detail. So what the author has done is just offer you, well, what are we working on? Well, in chapter 1, we're working on settings. We're not doing transactions. So there's something comforting about knowing that all you're doing is that one part. And so all the detail just relates to that one part, which would be settings. Okay. Now, your SatNav is based into 3 processes: settings, transactions, and reports. Okay, so in chapter 1, we'll be working with settings. Okay, so but we're not going to do anything about transactions or reports. Now in settings, we're just going to change a few things in there about company settings. It's pretty easy. Transactions, well, you'll see that in QuickBooks that transactions that you're going to put in are grouped together into like categories like sales, right? And also then expenses. So my charge is to kind of help you with that, but we're not even going to do transactions this chapter. In fact, I think in chapter 2, we do the chart of accounts. So really for chapters 1 and 2, we're just going to stay in the settings category. We'll start transactions in chapter 3. And then of course, the output of all of our accounting work are the reports. And we'll be working with the reports in chapters 9, 10, and 11. So this is what the QBO SatNav looks like. So it's just saying that here that we're going to be working with settings in chapter 1, 2, and 11. And notice here that the QBO transactions are grouped together by banking, customer and sales, vendors and expenses, and payroll. And then, of course, by reports. Now, check this out. What are we doing today? In chapter 1, we're going to be doing company settings. We're not doing anything with chart of accounts, not doing anything with transactions or reports. There's some there it's comforting to know that that's all we're doing. Like it may include like preferences like, hey, I want to display chart of account numbers, or I don't want to display chart of account numbers. And you can fix that as preferences in company settings. But that's what chapter 1 is all about. Okay, so I'm going to start talking to you about how to navigate through QuickBooks. And you know what? I decided I'm going to do it in QuickBooks and not bore you with PowerPoint. I'm actually going to do it. So let me go ahead and end the show. And I'm going to go to my portal here. And I'm going to do my demo company. It's loading up. And there it is. This is QuickBooks Online. Okay. Now, the first thing that the book tells you about is how to get around in QuickBooks. And one of the fastest way to get around is using the navigation bar. And again, it's organized by category. So if you wanted to go to sales, then you can invoice customers, you can add customers, all kinds of things with sales. Let's say you wanted to bill something. Well, you can go to the expenses and vendors, and you can, enter a bill or something. So it's all by categories. Let's show how we use the navigation bar. Here we're in the dashboard, and I suppose that this is considered the home page. This is where it kind of puts you when you first start. Let's say that in this screen here, I want to send invoices. Well, I would just go ahead and hit under Get Things Done. I would go to Send Invoices, click it, and there it is. This is where we'd invoice a customer. Now, what happened here? Tetra, what's going on? Well, this is a new company, and QuickBooks is saying, hey man, you want to invoice a customer, but you haven't added any customers yet. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. This is a demo, so don't worry about it. So we go back, and we're back to the dashboard. Now, let's say that I do want to invoice a customer. So if I wanted to use the nav bar, I could go to sales as well, and then go invoices. And guess what? There it is, create an invoice. And guess what? I'm at the same screen. Again, hey man, you got to add a customer before you can bill the customer, right? Yeah, I know. Okay, that's fine. Very good. So that's kind of how you use the navigation bar. The next thing I'd like to share with you, I'm going to go back to the home here just to keep things interesting here and consistent. All right. I'm going to move my little picture down. There are 3 tools that you need to get acquainted with. The first one is the gear icon. The second one is the new icon. And the third is the search icon. Okay. So the gear icon is for changing company settings. And also you can get to your chart of accounts here. For my simple mind, when I think gear icon, I think company settings. Now, if I want to enter a new transaction, I hit the new icon. When I think of new icon, I think entering a transaction. That's just me. And then if I need to search for something like an amount, a date, a transaction, I can use my search. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a little deeper dive in the gear icon. And if you want to follow along in your text, it's on page 44. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what this looks like. There it is. You can see this or not. In the gear icon, you've got these categories: your company, lists, tools, and profile. In our work in chapter 1, we'll be working primarily here with account and settings, right? I do want to bring a couple things to your attention. Now, notice here that you are in accountant view. Now, if you did set up correctly, you will be in accountant view. If you didn't choose that, you might be in business view. Well, you can change it. So if you're in business view, it'll say switch to accountant view, and I guess you can hit that, and it'll go back to accountant view. But you want to be in accountant view because that's kind of how the screenshots are in the textbook. Okay. Again, what's account and settings for? Well, you're going to update your settings. You're going to say, hey, you know, I'm a sole proprietor, so I want to make sure that my tax return is at 1040. You may want to update your preferences, like I want to add chart of account numbers. Okay, that type of thing. Also, you can see all of your lists. Now, what do I mean by lists? Well, you have a customer list. Those are all your customers. You can see the name, the address, the contact information, all that kind of thing. Also, a list for vendors. Okay. And I think you could do some other things like, you know, employees too. Okay. Next is this thing called audit log. This is really cool because if you make a mistake and you don't, and like your number doesn't match up, like let's say you got a number and you put it in Connect and it's wrong, and you just can't kind of figure out why. Well, you can use audit log to try to find the error. So what does audit log do? It's used to view the list of transactions that you entered. And so based on that log, you can say, hey man, that transaction is not right. That's the one that's in error. So then you can go back and fix your mistake. Now, I can also look at your audit log as being the accountant and make sure that you're doing the work. This is kind of a policing thing. But let's say that, hey man, I don't want to do the work. I'm lazy. I just want to get the answer from my neighbor and put it in Connect and get my points and get out of there. Well, you know, I used to work for Deloitte. I'm an auditor. And so I'm going to audit you every once in a while. I'm just going to check to see what your audit log looks like, make sure you're doing the work and the like. But that's kind of a negative way of looking at it, right? Most likely how I'm going to use the audit log for you is if you've made an honest try to find your mistake. In fact, you've even talked to your colleagues, you know, and they can't help you. And you come to me and said, Tuttrup, man, I just can't find it. I'll probably use the audit log to help locate your error so you can get back up and running, right? It's interesting to know that I've got like 70 QuickBooks students. I got 2 sections. So it's kind of like being a computer consultant for 70 companies. So if a whole bunch of you, you know, get me, it's going to be kind of tough to get to everybody. So what you need to do is kind of try to solve your own problems when it comes to wrong numbers. Talk to your colleagues about it. Also, later on in this video, I'm going to teach you some resources of how to troubleshoot as well. But audit log is one of them. It's pretty cool. Okay. Let's go now to the new icon button. That's right here. And when I think of the new icon button, I think entering new transactions. That's what that is. Entering new transactions. Here we go. Now, those transactions are in categories: customers, vendors, employees, and other. So again, if I wanted to invoice a customer, you know, bill them for work or something, I can go here, hit new, under customers, hit the invoice. And guess what? There we are. How about that? Again, it's the same thing. It's so interesting that you can, you know, get to the screens that you need in multiple ways. And if you are a true QuickBooks user, as opposed to, you know, pretending to be here trying to learn it in academia, you're going to find the way that you like to work, right? So there's many ways to do the same thing. Anyway, I'm going to go back. But the new button is great because that's what you use to enter the transactions. It's beautiful. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the search icon. That's right here. Now, what can we search for? Dollar amounts, transaction numbers, dates. And what's really cool is you have this advanced search, and I think your textbook talks about this. When you hit advanced search, you can actually look for certain transactions. So you can filter things by, all transactions, or hey, if you just want to see your bills, you click that. And then what vendor do you want? Well, we don't have any vendors yet, but you can put it in. And then you can say, I want all the bills that are greater than $500. This would be really good for your auditors. Let's say that if I was auditing you and I go, I want to see all of your liabilities, all your bills over $1,500. And you can run that report using this filter, advanced filter button. Okay. I'm going to go back. Now, the next thing is on page 48 about help and troubleshooting. So if you need help, click on that. And you have an assistant. Okay. You have an assistant. And what you'll do is type something, like there was something that happened to me that I said, what the heck? This is new to me. So I actually tried it. What was it for? Well, I can't find what I did. Okay, but that's what it is. You type something and then the assistant would come back to give you the information that you need. That's one thing to do. All right, so that's the assistant through help. Now, let's actually work on changing some QBO settings. And there's really two aspects to settings. There's company settings and the chart of accounts. We're not going to do chart of accounts because that's going to be chapter 2. We're just going to do company settings. So again, we're going to go hit the gear icon. And like I say, we're not going to do chart of accounts. We're going to go here to account and settings. And we're going to enter in some information. Now, because I kind of tried this out myself already, I've already done some of the data entry. So anyway, you're going to do that. You're going to click on the gear icon, and under your company, you're going to account and settings. Okay, there it is. Now, I think that you're going to have to enter in the Social Security number of the owner, right? And so I've already done it. I think that's what you're going to do in your demo company. Well, how do I edit it? You go to that pencil icon, you click it, and then you make your edit. So because this is a sole proprietor, you're going to use your Social Security number, and then you enter it in, and then you would hit save, and it would save your work. I'm going to hit cancel because I already did it. But if you did it for the first time or you changed it, hit save. The next thing is the company type. This is a sole proprietor, so you do want form 1040. Now, I think this automatically came through because I think in your setup, you told QuickBooks that you're a sole proprietor. If somehow it didn't, go ahead and change it. How would you do that? Hit the pencil button here, and then figure out what you want to do. Well, you're not a, corporation or limited liability, company. You're sole proprietor. So leave that alone. And if you did change it, hit save, and you're done. Same thing with the contact information. Let's say that we want to add a phone number. I think that's what you're going to have to do in chapter 1. You would hit the pencil button, put in the phone number, and hit save. Isn't this easy? I think the hardest part of this chapter was your setup. And I know you guys are sweating bullets. Some of you guys were sweating bullets on it, and I don't blame you. It was kind of difficult, but this is pretty easy. And I think it's going to be easier as we go. The last thing I'm going to have you do, or the book is going to have you do, is put in a company address. Again, click on the pencil, put in the street address, the city, the state, and the zip code, and then hit save. All right. I'm gonna hit cancel because I don't want to change anything. And then when you're done, just go down to the bottom right-hand corner and hit done. And there you go. All right. I am now going to go back to the PowerPoint. And I did all this for you, right? Yeah, I did all this. All right, here we go. QBO help and troubleshooting. Number 1, always check your updates, right? So I would suggest that you go to that website. I have it in every chapter in your assignment summary. Hey, before you start this, check your updates, and then you jot them in your textbook and where they go. So when you get to that particular step and that step doesn't match your screen, oh, it's not supposed to because I have an update here. It just keeps the level of stress down. If like you're going through your book and all of a sudden, hey man, that my textbook doesn't match my computer screen. Well, if you did it with the updates, oh, it's not supposed to. Here's the update. It just makes it a lot easier. Now, I will tell you that chapter 1, there were so many updates. It was like crazy. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to do it myself and give you that PowerPoint, those PowerPoint slides, because it was getting real confusing. I noticed that the latter chapters, there's maybe 2 or 3 updates. So I don't think it's going to be as troublesome as our setup was. Okay. Now, also, you need, if you're having trouble with QuickBooks itself, and you have browser trouble, you can go to section 1.5 of your textbook and read about the steps of how to troubleshoot your browser. And finally, you need to check out Appendix D, which is QBO troubleshooting for QuickBooks and best practices, because it tells you how to do that, right? It's kind of nice. Finally, at the end of each chapter, there's this thing called Accounting Essentials. And Accounting Essentials summarizes important accounting knowledge that may be helpful when using QBO. And I always want you guys to keep in mind the accounting that's going behind the scenes. So I don't want you just to mindlessly follow the steps, right? So, okay, man, I'm just going to do everything that's in bold, and you do it, right? It's like following a recipe, but you don't know you're baking a cake, right? So you know, when you do this, not only think about, you know, procedurally what to do, you need to know what's happening behind the scenes. And I think this Accounting Essentials keeps that in focus for you. Okay. And so it's interesting. One of the things that you're going to learn in that Accounting Essentials is, well, if I'm trying to account for a partnership, well, what kind of tax form does a partnership file? Well, it's form 1065. And you can find that on page 68. I think that's, I think it's maybe a practice test question. I've seen that before, and I think that's why I put it here, to keep it in mind, right? So that's what this Accounting Essentials does. Now, finally, I just want to let you know that the exercises at the end of the chapter provide you an opportunity to practice QBO, right? The end of chapter exercises use the same QBO company, Mookie, the Beagle, Concierge. So just remember, when you finish chapter 1, you make sure it's right. This was not a big deal. I mean, I'm saying that not a big killer deal. You're not doing any transactions. Let's say you put a partnership down and you're supposed to put a sole proprietor. We can always fix that. But starting in like chapter 3 with transactions, that could be more problematic. So I guess the bottom line is make sure that everything is correct. If your number in Connect, let's say, is not correct, well, then you got to find out why it's not correct. Don't just say, hey, man, what's the correct number? And I just put it in there and I slide by. In the old days, if you messed up on chapter 2, then, okay, you can take your lumps and then I'll just give you a fresh restart for chapter 3. Not in QuickBooks Online. And, I wish I could not do that, but I think everybody that's learning QuickBooks in the country is doing this now, because Intuit, the makers of QuickBooks, is making us do it that way. And maybe they're going to see the error in their ways. I think it's not good. I think that they need to give us the backup and restore feature that's kind of for a higher level product they have. And then if you messed up, I can give you a fresh file and you can move on, but not the way this is. But I'm telling you that the book is organized so that it minimizes those carryover errors. It just tells you, well, is this your check figure you have? You have this, you have that. And if you do, when you move on, you're going to be okay. And finally, we've got these QBO videos, and you can find them on that website again, myquickbooksonline.com. But also, I've organized them for you by chapter in your Canvas. Okay, so I haven't even really looked at them. I haven't any time, but the ones that they said, hey, these are good for chapter 1. Okay, fine, I put them in. Oh, these are good for chapter 2. So I put them in Canvas for you. So if you want to look at them, let me know and do them, and let me know how they are, if they're helpful to you. All right. That does it for me for chapter 1. So go ahead and finish chapter 1. It's going to be due at the end of the week. And if you have any problems or you just want to talk with me, of course, I'm available. Just email me, and, we can even chat on Zoom if you want. Just let me know to meet your needs. Remember, there's 70 of you and only one of me. So you've got to be, do the best you can to be independent. But man, when you just can't get resolved, then let's talk it over and I'll get you going. Okay. So until next time, we'll see you again in cyberspace. Study hard. Bye-bye.